What is up, ninjas? My name is Several, and today I'm going to teach you guys how to sound like Gavin Harris. Oh, it rhymes with Martin Garrix too. Now, in order to sound like him, we do have to look like him. Sadly, I don't have the porn stash. It's almost there, but you know, I am 24 years old, so. We also have to have a six-pack. Sadly, I do not have one. As you guys can see, I have a belly going on. It's not that bad, but you know, the future beats of 2018 are there, and in 2015 and 2014 I had a big ass belly, and that's where all the hits came from this year, or I like to say. Now we're also gonna need access to a bass guitar and also some analog synths. However, I know not everybody's gonna have access to that, so for the bass guitar we're gonna replace it with Complete 10. I just bought it recently, so if you guys want me to make a video about it on whether it's worth it for an EDM producer, let me know. And also we're gonna replace the analog stuff with Silent One, because Serum's not that great at emulating analog, sadly, and I prefer the sound of Silent One. So if you guys are ready to do this, let's go! Alright, ninjas, so we are here inside of Ableton. Like I've stated, now we have access to a lot of guitars in Complete 11. It was actually the 11th version. But the one we are going to be using is going to be the Scarby Rick and Wrecker bass. I was really looking forward to using this one, so we are going to use this one here. It has a nice look to it, and you know, we're going to be messing with it, probably just using a preset to make stuff move faster to get this started. Now, I understand, you know, there's people out there, there's young people, there's people that don't like pirating stuff, and I also know there's people out there that just can't afford to invest in their passion for music. So there are free alternatives like DSK Audio or DSK Music has, you know, really good sampled instruments that are free. Now there is a catch, and that's not, they're not as great as the paid for instruments. I asked one of my cousins, his name is Edgar, he studies composing or music at Cal State Fullerton, so he uses a lot of this stuff to make his ideas come to life for sure. Orchestral, because he's a college student, can afford it. He says it's okay, but it's not as good as the paid for stuff. Now, if you guys want some of the paid for stuff, do go on eBay and try to find reputable, you know, sellers that sell like the keys and everything for older versions. They're going to be almost as good as the newer ones. That's a tip I give you guys, and you can get stuff for cheap. Okay, so moving on, guys. So we're going to start with the bass, and the bass is going to be the foundation of the song. So let's try and come up with something catchy. I'm going to be in the scale of F minor. I'm going to be using my keyboard. You know, I'm not going to be using these guys here. I'm going to be using my keyboard just to come up with a melody. And we do want something that's going to be kind of swingy, so that's where you're gonna try and play it. So let's find here the right where we're at. Okay, we're right here. Doesn't go that low, so we have to. We're gonna add this now. We're gonna stay in the BPM of 100. I don't know what BPM Calvin Harrison. It's very slow, but I'm just gonna stay in 100 for this guy. And let's go here. So we're gonna do the same beat. And let's make it further. There we are. And let's get rid of that. I hate when it does. Maybe a little bit less here. Let's go further. Yeah, it's, I like that rhythm. I got some right. Yeah. Okay. And then we go down to the A sharp here. I want to this one. And then it's like, no, here, and then we go here. Or G. And then we got the same rhythm. Yeah, it's a little bit fast. Let's go to 90. All right, so that's going to be my bass right there. In terms of the bass, you know, keep it front, keep it fresh. I'm showing you guys the more simplified version of it because, you know, music shouldn't be that complex where it's like, dun, 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 you know, all over the place with it. Try and keep it very simple at first. And once you get comfortable with this bass, you can switch out little notes to kind of add a little bit more melodic movement in your bass. So with that being there, guys, the next thing we want is the kick. Now, Calvin Harris does tend to go for more of that 4 on the floor. As we know, he comes from dance music, and I consider this still dance music, just a little bit more funk dance. So we are going to be using some, you know, kick. All right, guys, so here you have a kick in it, and I really like the way it's out. It's going to have a very kind of acoustic feel to it, but at the same time, it's not. So we are going to be adding this forward here. So we're going to be going slow, actually, here. Doing every hit. So there. And let's add our bass midi there. So that's gonna be really cool because it's gonna give so much room for the synths to shine. But now let's add the clap. The clap I'm going with, because I couldn't find one that kind of was remnants of him, is this one, which is kind of a little bit, you know, it doesn't have that EDM kind of style of clap, which is what we don't want. Now what I'm gonna do is, as you can see, the clap does have this kind of reverse. So we're gonna use that to kind of go into it here. So as you can see, watch this. We're just gonna grab it here. Let's go narrowest, and we're gonna grab this here to like so. We're gonna copy this to behind it, and hopefully it works. If not, we're gonna have to make it ourselves, and we're just gonna reverse that. Let's move the volume up a little bit and see if that's gonna work for us. Yeah, it might. So we're gonna test it out right now. So there we go. We got that reverse going there, and we do have it delayed already a little bit, the original sample. So it's gonna give us that nice little delay there. So let's see how that sounds. And let's, you know, click show fades here, and this is really going to help us because what we can do now is we can move this and shape this kind of you know, already pre-made kind of sample into what we really want it. So just that, we don't want this, we want this. And there we go, we got that there. All right, now let's put it in the correct position, which is always going to be on the 2 and the 4. And that's really going to help here because you're going to see that action, baby. There we go. All right, and let's move that there. And make sure the kick is good. Yep. And there we go. You know, I'm not a fan of it. I'm actually just gonna get rid of it. I think it sounds better. So I'm just gonna leave it like. So there we have a nice little beat going, you know. If we want to add swing to this, there is a cool little thing that Ableton has. By holding, I believe, Control-Alt-G, you're going to open up the groove pull here. And, you know, here you're going to be able to drop grooves. Now, another way to access this would be to go to the MIDI or whatever you have. Go here to the groove, click on this icon, which is the hot swap. And then you're going to be able to pick you know, a swing. Now there's a lot of them, and that's the bad thing. A lot of people get confused here. So usually the 1/16s are going to be the easier ones to use because they don't really change much of your bass synth as, you know, as the other ones where you're going to be like, holy shit, I really messed up my MIDI. It's going to be more like, yo, okay, cool, which is very subtle, but I hear the swing that it's giving. So let's go into MPC, or we can try the swing method here. 1/16. We'll try this guy here, and we're going to commit it. And you can see it shifts the notes a little bit. Let's do that one more time so you see. You can see when we commit, it switches it a little bit. And now we're going to have... And it gives it that swing for us. So it's really cool. As you guys can see, it did that for us. Now, other like DAWs like FL is going to have this. Also, Logic should have it. But, you know, this is the way we do it in Ableton. Not a lot of people talk about it. But Control-G, you access that. And also, when you have the MIDI all the way to the left, you'll be able to access that as well. And now we have that nice little pattern there. So now from here, it's time to make some synth actions with this. So we're going to be opening up Silent 1 here to do that. And we are going to be making some synths, guys. Now, synths from back in the day, or synths for like this type of music, isn't as difficult as doing more EDM-ish type synths, as long as you know what you're doing. But then the same can be said for it. So what we're going to be doing is going with a saw. And the way we're going to give it that nice sound that Calvin Harris tends to have in his leads is by using a filter with somewhat of a resonance. We're going to open this up with a cutoff AB here. And to give it that wah, 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 we're going to add a tap. And you can already hear that wah, wah, wah is starting to come through a little bit. And let's add a bit of relief. And we're starting to get that sound there. Now we can also add more voices if you feel like it, which is going to be very different. It's going to give different tones there, like different increase in volume and just a little bit more fuller. A little bit of detunement as well. And again, the key is not doing like the cutoff all the way up, because then you get that type of sound, but it's like finding the sweet spot for it where you want it. And from there, you know, it's very simple. We can apply an EQ through silent, just a little bit there, to give it a little bit there, a reverb and a delay as well. Now, if you are going to be using the reverb and delay inside of Silent 1, I do recommend that you do not use another one outside of Silent, because one of the things that amateur guys do is that, yeah, presets are good. You know, I believe in presets. I make them, I sell them, so I'm a little bit biased there. But I always believe that when people want to make music, they don't want to be doing sound design at the same time, because it can really cut in on the time. And if you're like kind of inspired at the moment, it's gonna lock you down. So what we're gonna be doing here now It's just going with that. We're not going to worry much about processing and making the sound like in your face. It's more about the idea of stuff. So here we have the sound. Now we have the catchy bass line going. It's time to get the synth going. So let's see what we can come up with. Okay, so, you know, as someone that's been making music for a while, I already know how to get melodies, and there's this technique called voice leading, which really helps, okay? Now, the idea of voice leading is that if you play any note harmonic to that note that your bass is on, or whatever else, everything else is playing, for instance, the bass goes to D, then to G, then to A, and then to D. You guys know that every note's gonna have harmonics. That's how chords are made. So if I were to turn the bass into a chord, this would be the chord of the D minor. And then we move on to the G, and this would be the chord of the G minor. And then we have A, as you can see, we're starting to go here. Now, if I wanted to make a melody, I could go to any of these notes at this specific time and start there to start my melody, and then move towards these two notes down here and so forth. Okay, that's the idea behind voice leading, is that if you play a note that is a part of a chord that you could, you know, a chord that you're on, it's gonna sound good. Now the bad thing about voice leading is that it makes your melodies very predictable, but in the end, pop music, which it's gonna be this, it's not meant to give someone listening to it like go like, huh, what, like make them work, you know. It's like, here's pop, it's like simple, it's catchy, and this is what you get, not fucking like trying to figure out where the hell are we going with this. The melody's so weird stuff. So what we're gonna be doing is just making a melody here. Now I prefer to play it out because you are gonna get that humanized element, the little swing to it that you're gonna give, because you're gonna mess up a little, you're not gonna be in time, and that actually gives it a little bit more extra. So let's increase the volume a little bit through silent 1 so that we can hear it a bit better, because we didn't really hear it there. My camera is blocking my right speaker, guys, so keep in mind of that. It might sound a little bit like panned or something, but we'll be fine. Let's play a higher key. And let's open this up a bit more just to let there to be heard. I'm gonna follow that rule. I'm gonna start the melody at D, which is the root note. We are starting on the root note here as well, so that's gonna be kind of like playing almost the same note, cheating in a way, but it works. So as you guys can see there, we came up with that kind of melody there. I'm just playing notes here. So let me open up a MIDI so you guys can actually see it this time. And we're going to record something. And from there, I think we should be done. The rest would be to actually have, you know, like a vocal on top of it. We are going to add a little bit of ear candy with some vocal chops out here and there just to kind of add a little bit more depth to the song. But other than that, we are almost done with this. We're going to add some hats as well. But let's go in here. And let's see if I can make this melody come alive by inputting it via notes. I hate doing this. So we're gonna go da 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 da. So here we go. We're gonna start on the root note. Da 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 da. So let's go in. So da 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 da. And we're going down here. And then we're gonna land on. And let's do a. And then another. Here, you know, this is just going again, not what I played. Now, as you can tell, like when I was playing it, it had a nice melody to it. Like it had a nice swing to it. Right now, it just sounds very robotic. So we're gonna fix this by adding the same, you know, swing we added on the top to here. And then we're gonna go down to G and then back up to A sharp. Now the reason I go to A sharp is because here the bass is gonna go into the G, as you can see. So again, knowing that voice leading theory, if I were to play out the chord of the G minor, you can see that we have the A sharp and the D to go to. And I'll show you that the melody is gonna work on either of these three notes when we land on. And you can see there it sounds good. We can also go to. And then we can also go stay at, and then we can continue that. And then maybe we can repeat this because I think it's really catchy. So we're gonna heave that. And remember, we always want to repeat the catchy elements in a melody to make it even sound catchier. A melody's, you know, catchiness is gonna come from the rhythm, from the notes we pick, and it's always good to repeat that catchy element. Repeat the catchy stuff. Don't repeat the boring stuff. And let's see. Okay, so we're gonna repeat it actually like this. Check it out. So I believe it's gonna be there, and we're gonna get rid of. Actually, same rhythm here. We can do that. Try this. Okay, so this is kind of done. And then here, what do we go to? A. So we can again repeat this because again it does revolve around that. And then we're gonna bring it down to that D. Let's see if F works. Let's see if we can repeat this melody here, this rhythm. And then we're gonna repeat that. Now, in one of the songs of Calvin Harris, he is going to be using chords. So if we were to go in that regards, we would do something different like this. Let's say that we use this as our chords here. Then we would just start at the D maybe here. And as you guys can see, we can do that as well. It's just not going to be as exciting, but it all depends on whether this is going to be the main lead or not. And then we're going to go down to that G as we talked about. And we can even lower it down. So you can go different ways with this. You know, this is called How to Make, I guess, Music Like Calvin Harris. But the idea of this, guys, is again to give you guys kind of like, oh, I've always wanted to make something like that. Now it's time for you guys to go in and be like, this is how I would do it. Fuck Calvin Harris. This is Sam Roll's way. You know, switch it up and make it your own. So let's continue along with this. All right, guys, so let's find the vocal now. There's this vocal pack I really like, which is the Echoes by Holly Drummond. I think that's a very, very good vocal pack. It's very overused now because it's old. However, we're going to be using it for this. So what we're going to be doing is finding a part of the vocal we really like. So let's get this actually. And we're going to be using that here, just to kind of start things off and add a little bit of depth to this, because right now it's very like a good idea, but we also have to add the ear candy that people like. Now we're going to be adding reverb here to this and kind of increasing the dry and wet, giving it a bit of high there, and then using this to cut it. Now reverb can be used various different ways. A lot of people just see it as the effect that, oh, it sounds pretty, bro, but it's actually a good effect to push stuff back in the mix, to kind of, you know, manipulate it, the depth of it. That's why reverb is considered three-dimensional, especially hall type reverbs. So we're going to use that to push it back in the mix a little bit. You know, we don't have any sidechain going on, so let's add that so it sounds a little bit better, because right now we have the kick just slamming on top of everything, so we're just going to do this very easily. Now the good thing about the kick is that it's not that big, so that's why it's not causing that many problems. And audio from kick, actually here, audio 3. There we go. And now to the synth as well, and to the vocal that we just added. Yeah, let's give it a bit of the delay. Let's make that delay be a ping pong though. Here I'm just adding again flavor to it, trying to get it a little bit more kind of full. Contact instrument, we're also going to be using sort of like a piano to go along with this, to kind of give a little bit more, you know, depth to it. All right guys, and now we're going to give a little bit more depth to this by giving the piano, you know, we want a piano that's playing kind of chords, but at a very bottom kind of interval with the bass. So the piano is going to be placed in the sides of the mix while the bass is going to be in the center. Now it's just finding the right piano, and I think the Giant might be fine, even though it's kind of like not the one I want to go with. I don't want to, you know, just be picking the right piano here. We're going to be doing this. And let's do some chords with this. Now remember, we have the D minor here, so we can just go like so. And we are going to be doing a quick little trick to make this sound a little bit better. All right, here we're going to go here. Yeah, and then we're going to be doing this. Now, we're going to be adding a MIDI-based effect to kind of get a really cool vibe out of this right now. Okay, there we are. Now we're going to go into MIDI effects and grab a MIDI velocity here. It's going to be, yeah, this guy here. Now there's a preset in there called piano, and that's just fucking beautiful. I love it. I have my own version of it. Now we're going to be using the piano preset here. And you're going to see it's going to really sensitive, like kind of dull it. So it's not as loud. And now with the drive, we can control that a bit more. Yeah. And we're gonna have again the piano on the sides of the mix. Let's add a bit of a Haas effect just to again emphasize that sideness. We're not gonna use it like crazy. Now the Haas effect is just one way of getting stuff wide. Keep that in mind. And let's use an EQ to get rid of the lows we don't really need from it. Gonna add a little bit of air by just boosting up here. So from there, I think you guys can take it even a step further if you guys want to and make it even sound better. Again, in this tutorial, we're not trying to focus on the mix down or none of that. We just want to focus on the idea of stuff. And this is how I would go about in creating something remnants of Calvin Harris. Now, you would have to get like vocalists because this music, while it's dope to listen to at a, you know, in a club or in a little lounge, you are going to need vocals to carry it, in my opinion. But I hope that this video helps you guys out, especially people that are trying to get into the style. This is what I would use. And again, if you guys want to watch a video on me talking about if the Complete 11 is a good investment for an EDM producer, make sure to leave me a comment or hit a like on there. And I'll see you guys next time. Just take care and you guys have an amazing day. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't. Peace out.